Hey guys, welcome back to the Mind Body broadcast with Austin and Marty. And today we are going to talk about a topic that we've been stewing on for a couple weeks. We want to talk about shelf life of competitors and how you can make sure you have longevity within this arena. And we're talking specifically about people who actually want to compete, not just people who want to live the fitness lifestyle, because of course competing requires extremes in terms of body composition, and sometimes, well, a lot of the time, extremes in terms of dietary habits and exercise. So we wanted to cover some of our thoughts on things that you can do and things not to do when it comes to making sure you not only can do this for an extended period of time if you want, but also actually make progress over time,
I would
so
say an extended amount of time if done right. You
right.
know what I mean? Yeah,
Well,
I know that's what you're
and
trying to
there's
say, but yeah.
and I think we've said this before, but I think it's important to point out, this is for people who actually like get in good shape for shows, because there's people that compete all the time, but if you're never if you're never really getting in
Yeah.
that good of shape, that's not that demanding.
Yeah. Well, a great analogy for that one would be along the lines of people that feel they're overtraining when have gotten to either no level of intensity or even, we'll say, bigger weight on the bar, right? Like, yeah, that's
Right.
that's kind of the way to think about it. I couldn't agree with that more. Yeah, we're talking about, and like there's lots of factors to it too, right? There's definitely the physical component, which I think we should start with first, then like the mental psychological component, and then the emotional component for sure, because
Yeah.
all three of those can lead to different forms of the shelf life of the competitor not being there, and those will all add up. I don't know if it's directly going to be like, we'll say, physical plus mental plus emotional equals shelf life, but it could be like one of them could be two times as much, because I know some
Right.
people let their emotions wreck them more. Some people could have, let's say, well, like yourself, you've had more adrenal problems than I know with most people. Like, and if you didn't address those, your shelf life would be drastically reduced, right?
Sure. Oh
Yours didn't,
yeah,
yours,
absolutely.
yours didn't bounce back as quickly as, let's say, mine. I've abused the crap out of them, had them tested pretty good. Who knows, that could change. But however, is that, yeah, let's kind of start there with the physical stuff. What have you said you've been seeing this a little bit too much lately? What is the biggest things you've been noticing that people are neglecting, we'll say?
I think one of the reasons that I'm probably seeing it is because that's the type, like, that I put out a lot of the information when it comes to that. So of course
Yep.
I'm kind of attracting those um, those cases. But one of the things, I don't want to make this about like how do you fix metabolic issues.
No.
That's not really what I'm
No,
getting.
I'd say make this more of an awareness thing, eh? Do you
But
think?
yeah, and it's a few things to point out for sure. Like we said, if this is for people who actually are going through really tough, intense, contest prep periods. Females are almost always going to have more of an issue with this than males,
Of course.
at least that we're talking about physically. Now,
Yep.
definitely from a physiological standpoint, it's going to be tougher for females.
Yeah,
So,
it's just the way it works.
yeah, and and you've seen it. I mean, you've seen the criteria for females just get more extreme over time, just like
Oh
it
Lord, yeah,
has for
especially.
males. But also, like, yeah, I mean, fuck, bikini now is like, boxed out glutes and
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
this. If especially if you're competing like on the pro level, and that's not anywhere close to a normal body fat set point for
No.
99% of women. It's just
Yep.
not. So, um, easiest way to look at it is, and this is with any type of negative adaptation, is if you think about what you would normally look like if you just exercised and ate intuitively. Would you be lean, or would you be kind of chubby, or like what would you
Yeah.
look like? So how much time are you spending away from that set point?
Mm.
And that's going to determine the amount of negative adaptation that's going on, and more or less. And then do that over time, and you're going to see what kind of issues are going to arise. And you should really be spending, and this might be so yeah, I would stand by this statement. I would say you should probably be spending at least 75% of your bodybuilding career out of a calorie deficit.
Oh, good. I was going to say 2/3. So we're right there. 63, 75.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And sorry,
75 might be a
66. Yeah.
little much. Yeah.
Yeah. But anything below that, even half, I don't think
Right.
that'd be that. Like, think about that. That would be dieting, or like, let's say in contest prep for, hopefully my math's here, 26 weeks. Is that it? We get 52 in a year. My
Yeah.
God.
Something, is it 52,
Ever since
something like
phone got
that.
calculators, man, my simple addition gone. But anyway, so
Yeah.
there you go. So if you want to do like 26-week contest prep and it's aggressive, that's one thing. But also, this is going to directly lead into my next thing that I really like. This is what bugs me the most about not only the competitor pushing it too, when they're educated about it, but also when the coach does not watch for this, is the 2, 3, 4 shows every year after year after year, right? Like, as in, like, you do the show in January, and then you do a show in March, then you do a show in June, and then you try to hit another one at the end of whatever. And I know I've got a girl fairly close to me, a women's physique pro, whose coach at one point was trying to have her hit the Olympia on points, the point system, right? To try to
Oh
get as
yeah. That's a tough
many
one.
yeah, exactly, as many top 5s or top 3 as she could. And I believe she literally did 5 shows in the span of that time. And we're talking like, hey, come on, we got women's physique, like this is excuse me, outside of the couple contests that will still have female bodybuilding. This is as lean as it gets now. Women's
Right.
physique, right? This is
It's as lean as bodybuilding.
been there exactly, right?
Pretty much.
It's big and lean with a well, according to the criteria, just a little bit of different shape, right? And but yeah, so I think she ended up coming. I think it was something. Don't quote me on this. I'm just going to say I think it was 16 points as you needed total. I think she either got 14 or 15, so she just missed it. And then that was her shelf life was now done. That was it, because her body could not handle, like, the amount of repercussions about that was just out of the world, right? Like, as in, you how do you come back from 5 with, like, there was no. And I said, when was your last refeed? She went, refeed. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, just
like, you want to, like, basically I'll end that with saying, you want to talk about shortening your shelf life as quickly as possible, do something like that.
well, yeah,
Whereas, exactly, never pull yourself out of a deficit, let alone an extreme one.
right. And it's always not. I mean, a lot of the time it's these people that they get away with it for the first, year or two,
Oh,
maybe
that's exactly it.
3, and then all of a sudden. But the thing is, they feel like they're okay, but there's been little subtle signs along the way. The signs are like, year 1, first contest prep ever.
Yep.
Well, it went pretty well. Well, why is that? Well, you've been in a calorie surplus most of your life.
Yeah. Yep.
You probably had a little bit more body fat than you're wanted to walk around with, right?
Sure.
So you had basically, starting with someone that's eaten in a calorie surplus and has a little extra body fat is about the best place you could possibly start from.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, for fat loss. Now, year 2, they go in, they get in shape, they do pretty good. They maybe even this year they pushed a little bit harder and they got in a little better shape than the last.
Got in better shape,
right? And then, they get a good taste of it. Maybe they do well, place, win their show or whatever. And then year 3, they want to do it again. They want to step up. They got nationally qualified or something, whatever. They want to go do a bigger show. Well, body's starting to fight. They're noticing that what they did the last 2 years isn't working. They're having to do a lot more extremes. But they go ahead and they push through it anyhow. And then, but they had to push a lot harder. Well, now after this show, they have a pretty nasty rebound.
Yeah.
And things go south on them. And so what are they going to do? Well, they're going to try to do another show because that's all they know.
That's how they cope.
Right. That's all they can do. So,
yeah.
And then they're pretty much screwed at that point. That's when, at that point, by that time, major hormonal and metabolic downregulation have occurred. We're talking about things like, loss of menstrual cycles for long periods of time. They have very low progesterone levels. They have estrogen dominance. They have potentially like hypothyroid. testosterone levels in women, even, right, they're down.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
And now they're also all the other psychological stuff setting in because they're doubting themselves, and now their leptin and ghrelin levels are all whacked out, and they're getting weird hunger signals. They're never full. They have cravings. They have, so there's like all this cascade of things that start happening, and then this is when it really unfolds, because, as you know, and you probably do something similar to me, but like, I personally like people to, if they want to compete, I personally like them to go through at least 1 to 2 cycles of leaning and being in a surplus, to just see how they they can get used to it and how they do emotionally and physically. Because now this person that we're talking about, they literally have no idea how to cope,
Hmm.
you know, and mentally they're so screwed up, and they're so scared of gaining body fat back, and this and that, because they just never done it before, and they don't have those skills. So,
Yeah.
it's a terrible position to be in, but we see it a lot.
Oh yeah. If you like in for the situation that you just proposed there, I definitely would do it if you can. It's like it's one of those things that as a coach, I really try to go by the moral compass that my parents instilled to me, and kind of just what I've seen about what I've liked from my coaches or liked from other coaches I've seen locally, and then also what I didn't like. But what I'm saying is that I always try to go off the client's needs and also their wants. Sorry, their wants, not necessarily their needs, but like as in if I can coax or convince them in a very, we'll say, morally just way to do exactly what you just said, then I would. Because if like, especially if that's the person mainly, or not even mainly, doesn't have to be, but predominantly uh, that you see that's maybe a little bit too out of their ready to compete phase. They need to maybe, either build some more muscle as a girl or maybe build some more muscle as a guy, who knows. And if you can convince them to do like a proper, well, yeah, leaning out phase, or a mock prep, as I like to call it, and then they don't mind not doing it for a show, cool. And so that's kind of the best thing I think for them too, because like you said, you don't know how they're going to react. They don't know how they're going to react. And also, if, like, let's say they had a lot of weight to lose, and then the person's terrified of it gaining it back, and they don't know how to do that correctly, that's a skill that has to be taught. That's not a talent. No one has that talent, I don't think, to know how to. I mean, especially as a female, let alone a guy. They don't want to gain fat back either. But if you go from, let's say, whatever, pick Miranda, Bikini Girl X, and she goes from 150 pounds and now she's 125 and looks fantastic. And as soon as she gets anywhere close to, let's say, the 140s, there's mental trauma there too, which could, if she doesn't watch it or be careful, that's going to minimize her shelf life as well.
Yeah, like you said, we're now at a point with this person where, well, and this is also where where they probably leave the local coach from their gym that's got them here, and
Yeah.
I'm
No,
not bashing anyone. I'm sure there's some great local
no.
coaches that aren't online, and but I just see this a lot. And then they get to you, and now you're in such a tough predicament, because, well, they
Oh man. Yep.
they have yeah, they literally, what's the first thing I'm gonna have to say is, all right, well, this is gonna take a long time, and then you're gonna have to probably gain fat, and you're gonna have to eat more food, and you're gonna have to not compete, and you're gonna have to do all these things that you don't want to do. And
I've had quite a few people not sign up and or leave
oh
me,
yeah.
and I'm perfectly fine with that. In it, especially being the MC at some of the bodybuilding shows here over the years, uh, it breaks my heart to see the person that I turned down, me announcing their name. You know what I mean? Like at
Yeah,
that exact show that they were ready for, and I knew that they were like at least an 8 out of 10 in terms of, you need to do a show in a year and a half from now, not this show. But it does. It does get to me, and it's like,
yeah.
either now that they, unfortunately, and anyone that's listening, is please try not to do this. Is did they call up another coach, and then not tell them what they told me in fear of them being turned down?
Of course they did. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100
Yeah, and because that happens, and or they found a coach that does not give two shits about that.
Or that, right?
Yeah, so that it's A or B. That's one of the two things, right? It's just like, yeah, once bitten, twice shy. You tell someone that they're not going to be able to do it, they're not going to say that. They're figuring, okay, Marty said because I said this, I'm not going to tell my next coach that. So yeah, and unfortunately, just like the title of the podcast is called, that's going to dramatically reduce that shelf life of you. Like, so you even gave a great example of show year 1, show year 2, show year 3. Well, what about 2 shows the first year? What about 2 shows the second year? Which you see this shit. I unfortunately have got quite a few people that are just right off the top of my head right now that I saw that exact thing that you were saying. Like, well, the first show, it will go however well. Maybe you're genetic wonder, maybe you got an okay coach, great coach, whatever. It will do whatever. Personally, I really have always believed that if your shows aren't close together back to back, especially if you're working with the same coach, and I'll toot my own horn here, is you will always look better at that second show if done right. Always. Then for that third show, that has to, and beyond, that has to be, like, we'll say, a lot more of that off-season time for sure, or a lot more attention to all those factors that you just talked about, the hormonal factors, the emotional factors. Did they rebound? Did they not rebound the first show, but now they did the second show? And then where they're head at, like you said, I think it's one of the worst things possible is if someone does those shows back to back to back to back, and they keep doing better and winning, and you just know that is like the analogy I like to do is that's someone that just got their first crotch rocket, their first fast motorbike there, and they go, I'll do kilometers here an hour. They go they go 120 down the highway, which I think that's got to be something like, I don't know, 80, isn't it? 1 point,
Yeah, it's probably right, or somewhere
80 or 90. Okay, so you're going that down the highway.
No,
now
it's less than that, but anyhow, keep going.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is it 2.2? Whatever.
Yeah, it's 2.2. So keep going. I
and
think.
So we got 1.8.
Right?
1.8. That's exactly what it is. Okay, so you're going 120 down the highway, and you go, okay, this is cool. That's your first show. Then you go 140. Then you go 160. But if you cannot do that speed on a motorbike constantly without frigging crashing. I don't care how great you are at it. That's the thing, is my analogy is almost perfect here, because I said this is when a person first gets that motorbike. So they're not an experienced driver at it, right? So hopefully you either have a coach or yourself, you went 160 and you went, holy shit, I almost crashed there. That was really scary. I got to back it down to 140, or even take it to the shop, get the oil changed, make sure there's air in the tires, whatever. But I have seen that, and I'm seeing that right now with at least 3 people that I've got right off the top of my head as soon as we talked about before wanting to do this podcast, that I'm seeing this deterioration, and I know who these people are from viewing them over the years come up, that they are not going to give up now that placing is now slipping. Like, if you see, let's say you got first, then then you came in second, and then the next year you did the same show, fourth. And all that does is piss them off. Now they do the show again, they don't place. So what do? Unfortunately, most of them will pick the road of, I got to try harder, or I got to use more enhancements, or I got to do some new extreme, as opposed to, okay, I need some self-care. Which, the great thing about this is that there's so much more info out there about taking a break versus what are we at now? About probably at least 15 years ago, probably even 10 years ago, in terms of how to take a damn break for contest prep, and not how to have to really lose yourself and make your shelf life go down exponentially.
Yeah. Yep. And okay, so there's a couple little things there. I was plotting my next move here. So
good. Chess game, eh? Chess game. Eh?
Yeah.
I'm just going to take out that knight right now. Whack. Yeah.
So the that national qualification you got, especially if you're here in the NPC, here's the thing. If you cannot walk into any regional show at any point and get a national qualification, you probably shouldn't be using that national qualification.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to say that, because if you're going to spend that much money and time and put your body through that to compete in a national show, to actually do well, respectable, then you should be able to qualify at any show.
Yep.
Okay. So there's that. So don't worry about that damn national qualification. Like, it doesn't matter. If you are a national level, you should be able to get that at any time.
Yes. It changed here. I'll say really quick, because I'll ask you, is there only a regional show and then you're nationally qualified? Like if you win,
Yes. So
so
here
it's
you
like
do a
a
regional
two
show.
phase process.
No, just one.
Oh, that's what I mean. Sorry, like as in sorry, two levels, like as in the regional and then the national.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't
because
have that.
they changed it here because it was regional, provincial, and then national. So you had to jump through two hoops before you could be qualified. So if you won your provincial title, that probably meant like it was unanimous and probably the overall. You probably did belong at the least at the national stage. Like belong, didn't say gonna get top five on your first go, but I know watching from especially the well, I won't say especially the bodybuilding in the U.S., but going from people seeing like winning their first show and then going to like watching the North Americans or the junior nationals, I'm like, you should not be there. Like, and is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah,
I just said that because I was dealing with this recently and with one of
yep.
my clients, and hey, if you're listening, I'm not calling you out. She's doing awesome. She's figuring it out. And
Good. It really makes me
yeah,
happy to hear.
figuring it out. And it was just it's not something that I've not run across. It's like, they feel obligated to do this national show because maybe their previous coach said they should do it, or they got
Okay.
their qualification or whatever. It's like, look, like I said, if you are that good, you should have no problem getting
Yeah.
nationally qualified. None.
Yeah. Oh, like it was I'll say something really quickly, but this is just an add-on, but it was the most ass backwards thing here a while ago. So for when they had the provincial, like the second tier show, if you came in fourth or fifth, you had to compete at nationals that year. If you came in second or third, you had a 1-year bye. And if you came in first, you had a 2-year bye. So how ass backwards is that? Basically telling the people that came in fourth or fifth at the provincial show, which there's 12 provinces, probably only 10 compete. I don't know if the territories do much. But so now you're telling the worst of the placers that they
Yeah.
have to compete in 6 months. Well, come on now. That does like give them at least a year. And I'm like, I think that's I don't know if that's been completely changed or what, but I know they were bouncing around with the rules and regulations on it there. But that just always seems so whacked out to me. Like, yeah, because I came fifth in Alberta. Now I can come in top 5 in Canada. Okay,
Right. Oh, well,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
that is bizarre.
that's very bizarre, eh? Yeah.
But
Yeah, but that's just it. Like, I can't like, and that was just like too. When they and I like I know this was some kind of money grab at some point, but remember when they opened up the Arnold Classic to being open,
yes,
like
yep.
as in like oh man, I remember watching some of that live stream because I had a client in it and it just made me cry. That's like how many people like, yeah, because like of course the Facebook statuses came up like crazy. I'm in the Arnold Classic. I'm like, what? And they didn't say it was the Arnold Amateur, of course not,
Right.
right? Let alone that the Arnold Amateur, I think this was pre 2016, was very, very hard to get into, let alone in Canada. You had to apply. You had to say, here's my photos, my stage photos, here's my placing, here's the shows I've done. Can I get in? And sometimes you wouldn't or whatever. But yeah, like where I'm going with this is just exactly what you're saying is just because you got that qualification does not mean that you are qualified. I know that sounds hilarious, but yeah, I think that's just some awareness out there too. I know it's a little bit off topic, but that's some awareness out there too about talking to a coach like yourself that wouldn't, not come down with a gavel and say, listen, you're going to look like shit for the next 5 years. We need to do something better. But you have to say, I think it's not our time right now to go there.
Yeah. No, I agree with you totally. Now you made me forget my other move. So you distracted me so you could win.
Yeah, I got a notepad here for all the crap I want to talk to you about. So
So
come on.
so yeah, the national qualification thing for sure. And I think that just, we won't go into the psychological thing yet, but that's just like a small side note. It's that whole identity crisis thing,
Going back to my example, I'll cut you out. I'll keep your idea there. But so the example I had there about the women's physique lady that tried to do the points for the Olympia,
uh-huh.
she lost her identity after that. She started to dislike it. Said, "What am I doing here?" Because she was promised by this coach that she'd probably get these points, and then just, yeah, what do I do from here? So it's very, very real, ladies and gentlemen.
It's tough, and it's like something that it's a sport, if you call it a sport or whatever you want to call it, that you don't probably not going to make money at competing in, obviously.
Oh
Well,
God, no.
but yeah, very, very few people do, but it's something that's your whole life is basically based around. And
Hmm.
yeah, so I can easily see how it's an identity crisis. Like, I get it.
Me too.
It's easy to see if you know what you're looking at. But yeah, that's something that happens in not only a pro, like in this case, but also people, these like early amateur competitors that have, that's all that they've done so far. You know what I mean? Because that's all they've
Hmm.
done in their career. They started, somebody convinced them to do a bodybuilding show because they had some muscle and they lost some weight. And
Hmm.
that's where it started. They did shows. They've never actually done an off season and gained any type of muscle or anything. And hey, the show promoters are also out there to make money and promote their shows. They're not here for your hormonal health, right?
No,
And
that's right.
you know what? I'm not knocking any show promoters. That's their job. They
No,
need
no, me
to
neither.
promote.
Yep.
They need to promote, and I'm glad that they're there because I like bodybuilding, and there has to be people there to promote shows, but they are there to promote shows. So that's their job, is not to make determine your metabolic decision making
Yep.
process.
Yep.
So yeah, so let's move on to, right. So we talked about what you probably shouldn't do if
Yep.
you are especially if you're like a newer competitor. But what can you do? What other things can you
To
do? And
extend
obviously,
your shelf life.
yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So the obvious one there is, we talked about our little percentages, two
Yep.
thirds or
Yep. 2/3 to
75,
75 for sure.
25, right? To stay out of a calorie deficit. That's an easy one.
Yep.
Look, most most hormonal and metabolic issues require time. Most of them, even if you've prepped hard, anyone that preps hard is going to have some metabolic compensation, right? It's going to happen to
Yep.
some extent. So most of it is a time thing, as long as we're not talking about any type of extreme case where there's some more lasting damage. But it really just boils down to time. So if you can do that step alone, you're going to win 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I'll
Right.
just pair that really quickly with like if you're a cardio bunny, take a cardio break too, because that is definitely something that I know it's tied in. Like yes, it reduces your, of course, total caloric volume, but also it's just too much. And so yeah, you got to take the cardio break along with the overeat the calories, just kind of balance that out. Like you don't eradicate calories, cardio, but definitely tone down the intervals, which goes into the next thing about me is like proper gym breaks. If you actually are like someone that can get to the point of overtraining, like Austin, especially doing the high intensity training that he does, like if he were to do that year round, you'd fall apart, man. Fall apart.
Yeah, I don't even hesitate to take extra days off anymore.
No.
Doesn't
You know
bother
what?
me one bit.
Side order about that, which is gorgeous. Brand new study. I believe it was Lee Banks or Lee, I forget his name. I just saw this in Lyle McDonald's group study came out about overtraining and overreaching. And the best way that you can mitigate that is be real with yourself. And if your numbers or your intensity starts taking, know that and take a damn break. Don't go in there and push it forward. This is directly like as in if you go into a show and you ate 500 calories less than your last show and you did an extra 3 hours a week of cardio for that show and you had to use more caffeine and your sleep was sucking. Take that as I need to take a break, not as an I need to push harder.
Yeah, and again, that's something that took me a while to learn. And you know how I learned it? Because I screwed up too many
Yeah.
times, and I finally figured it out. But yeah, those are all, and a lot of those things are skills that are going to help you with longevity. But a lot of those things are going to be learned in an off-season phase,
Oh yeah.
right? Because look, in the contest prep, you only have, yes, you can do longer preps and you can implement refeeding and diet breaks and things like that if you have the time, but but as a whole, a contest prep is not a time where you're going to have a lot of opportunity to take breaks.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So those aren't things you're going to learn and master in a contest prep. And also those are the things you need to be doing in the off season also to set yourself up for a better contest prep,
Correct.
because
Yep.
a lot of your prep success is dictated not just by the prep, but by what kind of position you're in when you start. So,
Oh man, I've like this is I'm gonna make up a quote for me right here. I'll say that the best prep is the best off season, is having the best
right.
off season,
And
right? Like
it's,
I've always believed that you're off, like you just said, your off season is going to dictate your prep. I haven't seen a single person that has either tried to maintain themselves for a photo shoot, tried to maintain themselves for a vacation, or like, let's say, competitive first time competitor A does a show June 30th, and then they have a photo shoot and end of July. Okay, so that's a month, and you try to keep calories a little bit low. Okay, cool. But then now you want to do a vacation and go to Mexico in December. So you diet for end of October and November, and now you want to do another show in June. Where the hell was your off season? It wasn't there. So show me someone that's done that and has gotten better results outside of being a drugged up genetic freak than the person that took the time to overeat, like correctly. I'm not like, overeat sounds like a scary term to most people out there, to have a greater calorie, lesser calorie expenditure than what you know what I'm trying to say there. And show me, especially if you had the same two people do it. That would be tremendously more impactful. They will show up much better if they didn't keep in this perpetual phase of either maintenance or trying to keep that caloric deficit.
yeah, no doubt. And then they're not only that, but they're probably just they're gonna look better. And when the prep's all said and done, most
Yep.
likely.
Yep.
And it's,
oh, for sure. I'd bet on that.
this is a funny thing. I told someone this the other day, and I'm not at all suggesting that you do this, but there's always the debate. I don't know if you would call it a debate, I guess, but the people that have different ideas of what kind of body fat you should have in an off season, or what kind of,
That's a debate for sure.
basically, how fat should you get? Now,
Mm-hmm.
it's always going to be person dependent, because everyone's going to feel and function differently at different body fat. So there's that.
Correct.
But
Comfort level as well.
There was this, an interesting thing I started thinking about, and I was looking at these like 80s and 90s bodybuilders especially, and how a lot of them would just eat as much food as they possibly could in the off season and just lift and rest. And
mm-hmm.
there was plenty of them that got pretty fat.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But then I'm starting to think, okay, well, physiologically, that makes a whole lot of sense to me, because now they're going into their contest preps with, and yeah, they're all genetically gifted and they're enhanced, but they're going into their contest preps with basically a fully functional, good metabolism, eating tons of food. And sure, they have a little bit more body fat to lose, but I'm thinking, is that a detriment, or is that something that helps them? And it's going to vary person to person, but I've come to learn this, especially with certain clients, there is some benefit in getting a little more liberal with food and adding a tiny bit more body fat, because they're actually going to end up in a better position to prep the next time. I know that sounds weird, but for some people that's helpful. Now others, I'm going to do the opposite. Others, we're going to stay a little bit leaner. But my point is that you can't stay so far away from your natural set point all the time and expect to be in a good position to prep. Because just because you ate in a slight surplus in the off season, if you're still pretty lean, you probably, you may not have fully recovered. So,
anyone out there that wants to see Austin's biggest and funniest example of this, which is immediately what I thought, and hopefully
you'll know. What is it?
Everyone go type in on Google, Lee Priest off-season chicken, and it's the second photo. Anyone that doesn't know, that's exactly it. Actually, it may or may not be, but regardless, it's a famous photo of him with glasses on. Muscle Get Tech used to use it in their ads. For those of you that don't know, Lee Priest was a 5'4", 5'5" Australian pro. really short, and he probably would have been, don't quote me on this, 215, 220 on stage, and he would get up to 300 and plus pounds, so 100 pounds. So what I'm saying is this is proving Austin's point biggestly, because the league kept getting bigger and in more shape and bigger and in more shape.
You know, it's so I got a guy right now, and shout out to my client Felix. He's he did the same thing. He hadn't competed since like 2013.
Okay.
And he came to me, and he's I think he's like 5'9" or 5'10". I'd have to look. But he was like 303 pounds.
That's a big boy still. Yep.
Oh no, he's big. He's big.
Yep.
He's legitimate heavy or super heavy. Yeah. And but you know, he had a little extra fluff on him than more people would like. But the thing is, his body lost fat so damn easily.
Oh man.
It just fell off. You know, and it's up until now, like now obviously he's pretty close to the show, and we're having to back, you know, do some things a little more extreme. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, he basically maintained a body fat that his body was comfortable with, and he ate a shitload of food and gained a shitload of muscle over 7 years. Calorie surplus, and his body just responded like alien freakishness response.
Yeah, I will tell you, any of the times where I've actually put on better amounts of muscle is when I have thought, like, from a, like you said, the debate protocols, you should stay in between 12 to 15% body fat, and I definitely was up around 25 or more. And anytime I did do this, and I was like, oh man, you know, you should back it down, Marty, or whatever. And anytime where I ignored my own advice and kept going and kept lifting bigger and got stronger, as soon as I did turn the dial back, holy crap, it just flew off me. And I did that for my very last time when I tried to get really, really, really lean, is that I was in that bigger state of a caloric surplus beforehand for a longer time, and I was uncomfortable. And but yeah, it yielded results. I couldn't believe it, how quickly it was all coming off. So you'll go ahead.
Well, and like I said, there's always a disclaimer there. It's not.
Yeah, no, we're
for everyone, but
no, especially in that. So that's when we'll tie into very clearly what is your comfort level with that too, because yes, there have been, there has been, I think maybe 2 or 3 times where I've had some girls that wanted to jump from either figure to women's physique or from bikini to figure. And I said, listen, if we want to do this in the quickest amount of time, you're unfortunately going to have to get a little bit. And there's a couple words that my girls have let me know over the years that they don't like being called. And one is husky, bulky, or bulky. They're like, yeah, one of I got some figure girls in the off season. They're like, yeah, a guy came up and said, man, you're looking bulky this year. And they meant it as a good thing. And it just made me cry in the bathroom afterwards. And I was like, yeah, or husky's a great one. Yeah, husky. That's
or just chubby. Chubby's a good word, because chubby makes you think of like the little 12-year-old boy that hasn't quite hit puberty yet.
Yeah. And but with you go ahead.
That's funny. Husky.
Husky.
I'm gonna start calling my clients husky this week.
There's a meme out there of like an adult husky and a baby husky, and the baby husky says, "Dad, I feel fat," and he goes, "It's okay, you're just a little husky." And oh my God, just wow, right? Yeah. So,
I like to poke fun with some of the clients that don't get easily offended.
Yeah, you have to, right? Like, or I'll call some of my really skinny bodybuilders like fatty, like, oh, good work, fatty, like just trying to like, and of course they're taking it completely the correct context, right? Because they've been a client for a while, and we know we're trying to gain weight, and they gain half a pound in 2 months. Just kidding. Yeah. But so some of these girls that, let's say they competed in, we'll say, figure at 130, and now they're wanting to do women's physique, and we need something like a good 5 pounds of muscle. 5 pounds on a guy is phenomenal, let alone on a lady. So I was like, if you want, just I just said it, repeat it, expedite this process, we're going to have to get a little bit husky. So we're going to have to, train hard, not forgo, or sorry, and not care as much as what we look like aesthetically for a while. And this can be hard, especially for those who don't hold body fat evenly. Like, I'm a love handle and gut guy. Like, I will get no fat on my shoulders and my arms but I will get lower back fat and stomach fat, and none on my chest either, not anymore. But yeah, and so let's say if a girl gets almost all of her fat, like we'll call it, I call it female pattern fatness. They get it all in the saddlebags and the ass. They're not going to enjoy that. Or someone that gets it all in their triceps and their belly, and they get none in their legs, and then they hate that. So it's just like it's where I'm going with that story is that I've done this. I think it's either 2 or 3 ladies over the years of doing this, and they have seen the best results as long as the coaching was there in the terms of like they're saying yes, like yes, we have gained body fat, but there's very visible muscle there, and pointing it out in the photos. And being able to talk to them and just really reassure them we are doing the right thing and not leaving them questioning, because hey, even as a dude, you look in the mirror and you see unwanted fat and all of a sudden your abs are gone and you can't see this and that. It's going to screw you up. And that is another part of the shelf life thing, right? Is that's the more mentally you go down that rabbit hole and you start losing that identity, or you start thinking like, what's it all worth? Or you don't have that drive to push as hard in the gym because you are now fatter or gain more weight than you like. That's going to, of course, screw your chances up of improving and coming back and doing better in this sport.
Yeah. And it's going to do a whole lot more than that too, because it's going to start leading to all kinds of like long-term psychological and physical issues. And we can kind of close out the physical part of this with is just you got to be honest with yourself. If you're working with the coach, then hopefully they do what they're supposed to do, but if not, you have to be honest with yourself and try to catch these things before they get too bad. Because I'm going to tell you, like I said before, having put out a lot of information on these types of metabolic and hormonal issues, I do get a lot of these cases that, and while I tell people it's often correctable, it's fixable, it's just how long is it going to take? And
be prepared for it to be as longer than you think, right?
Yeah, it's going to be probably going to be longer than you think. You're probably going to have to do a lot of things you don't want to do, because at this point you already have so many bad habits set up. Things that you probably think are good habits,
Definitely.
And unfortunately, like, it's a really tough thing to manage, and people fail at getting better because psychologically they just can't do it.
Yep.
So I guess my point there is try to do the right things from the beginning, and it's never too late to change, but the earlier that you can do the right things, like spending your time in a surplus, getting your lab work done, not doing hours of cardio all year long, taking the days off from the gym, not being afraid to gain a little body fat, like all these things. And then of course your stress and sleep and all this stuff that Marty and I talk about all the time. You have to be able to set up these habits and enforce them long term, and not just get caught in the rabbit hole of being a competitor, because being a competitor is just the competing part of it's just such a small part of it. It's such a small part. It's not, it's I mean, it's really like very, very small percentage of what you're actually doing is competing. So it's tough. It's really tough.
No, geez, you ever just remind me? I wrote a blog years ago called The Variables, and it was like I think at the very top I had A, B, C, D, E, F, G equals H, and H was like at that time your ability to do things or whatever, and so A was like your sleep, B was your nutrition, C was your training, and so everything that you just said there, that'll all add up to, and why it was called the variables is because those are all the variables that you directly have in your control. Right? I'm not talking about genetics genetics or anything like that. I'm talking about you do have in control over your sleep, or at least the improvement of it. You do have control over the amount of cardio you do, and those things. So yeah, exactly. Is that know that if you want H, like the non-variable, to be a better number, like you gotta, and it's even to I would say take an audit of all the things that Austin just said there. and say, where am I sucking the most at it? Is it competing too frequently? Is it really shortchanging my sleep? Have I stopped cardio? Have I not stopped cardio since 1995? It's things like that for sure.
Cardio is 1995. Yeah. they, you, and it's, I think learning how to also, and this is a good segue into psychological, I guess. This is a little more psychological, but learning how to have that different mindset, I guess, between competing and between making improvements. It's kind of it's a weird thing because there's two ways that I like to look at it. For one, I don't like people to change their mindset too much, because I also like that
Yep.
transition between off season and contest prep to be pretty seamless. Like I
Yes,
feel
we've
that
talked about that. Yes.
right,
Yes.
right. It shouldn't really be difficult to switch from one or the other, because really not that much changes. And if a lot does change, you probably weren't doing the right things to begin with.
Yep.
But at the same time, you do have to be able to shift it enough to allow the scale to go up, and allow the food to go up, and allow yourself to not worry about not doing cardio and this and that. It's funny because a lot of people have experienced this, where they have that period post show where it's pretty tough at first because they start to see some of that leanness slip away, and but eventually then they start getting fuller in the gym and getting the pumps, and their strength is going up, and eventually they just say, to hell with it, I want more of that. You know what I mean? And then they're good, they're fine. But unfortunately, some people never actually shift. They just continue to focus on the scale going up and the body fat. And I'm thinking, wow, I mean, these are all the things that you need to make progress. You're still focusing on progressing in a contest prep, but you're not in a contest prep.
Yep.
You're focusing on the wrong progress.
That is that perfect. That was exactly what I was going to say, is that's where the mindset switch has to be, is to what are you now looking at for progress, especially because, like, yes, of course, scale is a tool, blah, blah, blah. We've talked about enough times, but what I'm saying is, like, there's the indirect wins, and to me, they're direct wins. Is that's part of my assessment template, is like, if you were sleeping 5 to 6 shitty hours at the dying weeks of your contest prep, and now all of a sudden you're back to 7 to 8, that's a monster win. That's huge. You are now not biting everyone's head off at work. That's a monster win. You are not trying to beat your kids because they stole your coffee in the morning. That is a huge win. Your strength is coming back. That's more of the stuff that we pay attention to. Like, as in, you see the scale go up and it doesn't go up too badly. Cool. You see your strength numbers return. Cool. But it's got to be that stuff that, like the other components that we don't really look at as progress in contest prep. Like, as in, we see, like, as in, very few people's sleep will go up towards the end of your contest prep. We can probably say that universally. You're going to have some more struggles with sleep, especially in the leaner categories, just the reality of it. But then when you're in a caloric surplus, sleep should be improving. It might not be perfect, but it should be improving. So that's kind of like the things that we won't say like a good job on, but I think you need to really evaluate and say, frig, I'm not the weight I want to be. This is not happening the way I want to be. Like, yeah, I'm not at the gym as much as I want to be anymore. And that was really because I'm not doing cardio and weights. I'm only doing weights as much. And so that was a big social thing for me. But you have to look at those wins that really are there. And for anyone that doesn't think that strength or like, just we'll say progress and reps or size is a really good thing, like, especially for some girls don't really give a crap about that. You have to learn those things, because off season, especially if you are going to be a shelf life, and you can't go in and go back up to the same numbers you were doing in terms of reps, intensity, whatever, and think that you're going to come back next year looking better, unless your first prep was absolute crap. So psychologically wrapping your brain around that is going, I am going to have to somehow improve. Take a look at our podcasts on training intensity and program design and all that kind of fun stuff, and look at how to maximize your off season, because that's such a huge part of it. Because I'll tell you, we're still talking about shelf life here, obviously. And you go back to the gym and you get to the same numbers that you were doing or close to the numbers you were doing or whatever. And then you go back into prep again for the next year and you come back looking the same or potentially worse. That's going to take away your shelf life as a competitor, because there's that going to be like psychological and emotional havoc, just straight up havoc.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was a good little tidbit in there. I like to,
Oh, finally, I'd say something good. Yes.
Marty, Marty's tidbits. It's the, did that sound inappropriate?
No, I heard it, but yeah.
All right. Anyhow, but this, I do know, and this is something I talk to my, especially like bikini girls, because let's say we have someone in bikini, especially it happens in bikini, that they have enough muscle for the class, but they're like, well, it's so hard for me to focus on off season because I know that my goal isn't really to build muscle. Right. So they're like, why am I doing it? Right. Because it's a little, I think it's a little easier as a bodybuilder because you can shift that mindset because, hey, if the scale's going up and I'm eating more and I'm getting stronger, I'm probably gaining muscle.
Oh,
and
for sure. Yep.
It's harder for somebody that's their goal isn't really to gain a considerable amount of muscle. So I understand how that gets a little more difficult, but you have to, I start.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Yep.
Yeah, you get you see what I'm getting at.
Yeah, let's say it'd be pick a female class, could be bikini physique wellness, and let's say they were only told to come in a bit leaner the next year and don't change their muscle size. That's actually gonna be pretty damn hard.
Right.
So then you have to go back to, like, let's say you got up to, let's say, a plate and a half squat. Let's say that in your deep off season, that was your best squat. You're going to only have to remember that. That's why, side note, logging is imperative, just to kind of know that stuff. But let's say now the next year, because you don't want to come back bigger just in case, right? So yeah, there's a very good, I'm glad you brought that up. I wasn't even thinking that.
Yeah, it does make it a little bit tougher, and but there's still things we can focus on. So I try to tell them, well, let's look to improve other lifestyle parameters that will,
for sure, that'll make the longevity even more easy, right?
That are going to not only help with longevity, but also help with your next prep. So where did we lack? Was it sleep quality, or was it overall stress management, or did something in your routine that wasn't good, or we need it could be a number of things, and we can kind of make a game out of it. Now, I'm always kind of hesitant with this because I don't want it to be like an obsessive thing, like they have to have a blood glucose of 78 at all times the whole off season, or they have a panic attack, like not like that, but they but there are other things that they can look at and look to improve. There's other things you can get interested in. You can do different stuff. Maybe you want to try to eat some different foods. Maybe that's what you want to do with your off season, is eat different foods that you've never eaten before, and try to improve your nutritional variety and nutritional knowledge. Okay, well, that's fine. There's always something that you can do. And even now and there's been people competing a lot longer than me, but I'm coming on 11 or 12 years, and there's still stuff that I'm figuring out that I can improve on, or tweak, or try to make better, I guess, over time. So there's always something.
Yep. And two things popped right into my head that you as soon as you said that was, always get judges' feedback if you can, whether you can go down and talk to the judges after the show, or you can email them directly and then get like a little what messed up. So so what came to my head after that was, maybe your tanner, you used the wrong tanner. Maybe your posing whose posing can't improve other than maybe Kai Green, right? and take a look at him. He's a perfect example. Look how much he goes to posing class, right? Still perfecting it, right? Michael Jordan showing up every morning doing free throws, even though he was pretty much on top of his game, but that's probably why he stayed on top of his game. So that's just it. I think that's I like that, taking a game out of it. Maybe say something like, hey, if someone's, especially eventually going to be, so let's say, nutrient devoid by only eating the same thing, say, hey, I want to see 2 new vegetables in the next month added into your diet to see what they do, or something like that, right? Or it could be anything too. So I'm thinking of another one, is that, let's say they were doing cardio last prep and they actually couldn't stand the form they were doing or whatever, is find something else that's maybe a little bit more up your alley. There is so many ways you could go on that one. Yep.
Yeah, so you just have to find something different to focus on, and you can, heck, I mean, it can be simple stuff like what bothered you your last off season. It was you had a
Yep.
hard time, hell, I don't know, some maybe with your relationships or your family. Maybe there's something environmental like that you want to learn to improve.
Yep.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's always something you can improve, and you're always you're always going to be able to improve things better when you feel better and you're eating more food.
I was just about to say that you could, because you actually said the exact opposite word I was going to say, is that you can figure out during your off season, like what you can improve on your prep for.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly it. Right. It kind of goes in, because so I would say that during your pre-contest, I really wouldn't be thinking about too much about what I can do in my off season, because that's taking away from it. But you can definitely think in like at the beginning, or let's say right when you're kind of doing your post show stuff correctly. What am I going to improve upon this off season? And then mid off season, what can I improve upon during my prep? Because that's all there. Like maybe you booked like, let's say it's going to be the same venue. Maybe you booked the hotel too late. There's always something that you could be doing to improve that. And that will not only decrease anxiety, it will also increase your pure enjoyment about this. Like, I don't know a person in the world that when they have like an organizational system that's better than the one they already have is not a happier person. Because I will tell you, when I started first organizing, not only like, well, it definitely could be my training or my eating or whatever, but like organizing my business and getting out, like starting to use my calendar correctly, starting to schedule appointments better. Like that just took all the stress off of everything. And not only that, but then you can focus on that improvement and not just have it be like let's say you're at your show, the day of your show, you brought the wrong type of oatmeal. You write a note in your phone. I've got more notes in my phone than I know what to do with. And you title it Prep 2021. Do not get this effing oatmeal. It's disgusting. You hate it on prep day. So you don't forget next year by the same damn thing. And now you're can't stand life again backstage. But there is that, that's the gorgeousness of phones. Like I love my iPhone because my notes go to both my computer and my phone, but like you can pin notes, you can search for notes, and just that stuff is so invaluable. Having like these God lists or whatever, you can do them. Google Sheets too is great for that stuff. But yeah, having lists, having training goals, make some goals. Anything you can do to keep that psychological health better, friggin' do it. Go meditate, go to a spa day. Guys, I'm talking to you too. Some of the most relaxing times I've had is having the girls laugh at how terrible my feet are during a pedicure. I'll tell you, it's great. It's relaxing.
Yeah, they did. I've had a couple pedicures my wife took me to, and it's funny because my foot, especially when I'd have them like during the winter, because I would help with the wrestling team, and I would, in my whole entire foot's like a callus.
Oh, join the club, man. That's like how bad mine were at some point. Yep.
Because it's not only weightlifting, but also on those like squishy wrestling mats, which just like calluses the hell out of your feet. Yep. And
yep.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But anywho, the psychological thing, so we talked about that too, but also, so we talked about how to potentially transition your mindset from one season to the other. Also, how to have focus during the off season and focus on the right things versus continuing to focus on the scale and your deteriorating body composition and all of these all of the things that you shouldn't be focusing on. But there's also, I think there's also some lasting things to potentially look at, and that would be developing some longevity skills. Like you mentioned the pedicure thing. Well, how about some therapeutic things just in general that you can develop, that you can use all year round, or things that you can use in the long run? Therapeutic, and I guess these are kind of physical, but therapeutic modalities, whether it's like massage or or anything like that that you can
Mm-hmm.
use, and even mental stuff. Like I know we just had on the OPD podcast, I had a guy on that owns a flotation therapy spa, maybe
Yep.
with float tanks. So,
Yep.
yep.
The
So,
sensory deprivation or
yep.
whatever they're called. Yep.
Yep. So, and I don't think it's technically, I think he might get mad at you for saying that. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
but
Okay.
I think
Is that not a term anymore? All right.
I'm not
Yep.
sure exactly the term. I've actually floated quite a few times, but
Okay.
the, but I mean, man, there's just so many things. I know my mindset towards, I'll just use myself because that's it makes it a little easier to talk about rather than like vague generalizations. But I know my mindset's changed so much over time, and that
Oh God, yes.
it's I know about what I think I can probably accomplish in the long run, and I know about what it's going to take to do that. And it's interesting now because early on you do those first couple shows, or you do that first show or whatever, and a lot of people have their next show date picked out.
Of course they do. They probably
Right.
have it picked. They might even have it picked out like before the first one is even done,
Right.
or
Right.
or in between morning and night show because they're so pumped about it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. My last probably my last like 5 years, I've literally haven't picked a show at all. And
Yep. Smart.
except one instance, which was when I did the Junior USA last year, because it was a national show and there was a set date, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even then, I thought I was going to do it, but I was still would have pulled out had I not been ready,
Yep.
type of thing. And it's just that flexibility, I think, I guess if you want to use that term.
Mm-hmm.
And it's here's the thing, like you go, if you compete to do well and to improve, then that should be your goal. Your goal shouldn't be a set date. Your goal shouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
a set time frame. Your goal should be improvement, and just go as long as you need to go to make that happen. I mean, I don't even know when I'll compete again. I don't really care, to be honest. I'll just do it when I'm good enough to have made the improvements that I wanted to make.
Yep.
It doesn't really matter. Now I do know that I have a goal of, you know, potentially competing at another national show at some point in the next weight class up. But
There
that's
you
it.
go.
Beyond that
There you go.
point, I don't know if it's going to be 2022 or 2025 or what it is.
Yeah.
But then also look at your time frame. So how old are you? How
Mm-hmm.
much time do
Mm-hmm.
you want to continue to compete? What kind of potential do you still have to progress? How long have you been competing already? So, for example, in my case, I'm not old. I'll be 30 this year, but I've also already been competing for a while, right? So, and I've already gained X amount of, like, I don't know, almost like 100 pounds of muscle since I started, or 80
Yep.
or 90 or whatever. So how much more do I think my body can realistically gain this far away from my set point? So I'm thinking, all right, so how much longer do I really want to do these like extreme high food type of things, am I going to want to do that when I'm like 40 years old trying to shove 7,000 calories down my throat?
Yep.
No,
Yep.
no, because it's going to be so deleterious to my body at that
Yep.
point. Like it's hard enough for me to do it now, even when I do everything right, take care of my digestion and my sleep and all that stuff. And I don't want to be, I don't want to be 45 years old and trying to chase more muscle mass. Now, will I compete when I'm 45? Yeah, maybe, probably, but I also want to be pretty close to probably my maxed out whatever point. You know what I mean? Like I won't be looking to make jump weight classes at 45 years old,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So, but there are people like that do it, and I just kind of
Yep.
cringe. I'm like, oh God, you
Yep.
know. And
Yep.
but my point is that look at your long-term goals and look at time frames, look at your age and experience level and all these things, but also be flexible. If you need to talk to someone, if you got a coach or
I
someone
was
that,
just about to say
yeah,
that. Get a second educated, if not a
yeah, get
third
an opinion.
educated opinion.
get an opinion from someone that's been competing for a while, because what you do now and the way your body responds now, like let's say you're a second year competitor, you've been bodybuilding for, you bodybuild for about a year, and then you competed, and then
Mm-hmm.
you've done 1 or 2 shows, and you're maybe 2 to 3 years in. Well, I guarantee the way that your body responds now in terms of muscle growth and even contest prep, it's not going to be the same in 10 years.
Nope.
It won't. Rarely is it the same, other than general tendencies. Like if you need to do low calories now, you're probably going to need to do low calories later or something.
Yes.
But like outside of that, it's going to be different. You're not going to make those gains in muscle and that's another thing that just, I like to see people compete, because I do think it's a mistake if you're a younger competitor and you have this mindset of, oh, I have to be my absolute best to compete, because then you're going to miss out on some potential good opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And like those people that they have to do like a 6-year off season to compete.
Oh gosh. Yep.
And I'm like, okay, I get the idea. And if you don't want to compete, if that's not something you're really that interested in, that's totally fine. But if it's something that you like, I do think it's kind of a mistake not to do it at least once or twice when you're young, because you're gonna miss out on some good opportunities. Now, on the same side of that is also, you're gonna grow better when you're younger, and
Mm-hmm.
you're always gonna make better progress when you're newer, right? That's just how it goes. So just keep all that stuff in mind. Like you're not probably gonna gain 20 pounds of muscle when you're 40 plus years old.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Especially if you've been hanging and banging and doing it for
Right. For a
extended
while.
amount of time.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. I said that would probably be the only disclaimer if I had to pick out there, be saying if you were 40 years old and you've never weight trained, you might end up gaining 20 pounds in your 40s. But other than that, that's such a long shot, man. And yeah, it's just, yeah, then that's going to wreck other components too. And now we're starting to get into health category territory, like in terms of everything else, nutrient deficiencies, heart health, everything else along those lines that need to be. What was one thing there that not on those? So I was checking about. We were talking about goals for the off season. Is that I would say one of the bigger mistakes too, if you especially because this is still tied into shelf life, is that don't procrastinate on having a plan for your off season if you really do plan on competing again. And what I mean by that is when you're done and let's say you've done your show and you're 4 or 6 weeks into your post show and you've done the correct protocols, is that don't go, the show's not for another X amount of time, I'm just going to slack off right now. It's also not saying go in and go balls to the wall and train with the same weights you were doing 6 months into off season, but knowing that what you need to do, and like if you do want to improve, that's got to be the mindset you do have to make that switch for. Is that, and that also will tell you too, if you are going to be, we'll say, an off-season procrastinator, that might not be the best thing ever for your competitive career.
Yeah, there's always just so much context there.
For sure. Yeah. Like I'll say, take a break, go on that vacation, like have those glasses of wine, do that for sure. However, not plotting out and having a plan of at least, okay, I should have my food up to here. That's if you want to continue competing, let alone if you want to continue competing the next year, depending upon how fired up, if you're with a coach or whatever. But yeah, definitely. I'm really happy you said that, because that is such context. It's not as in have a detailed plan out to the hour 6 weeks after your show, for sure, because that would actually cause just as many problems, if not more.
Right.
It's like psychologically. Yeah.
It's just, I know that my outlook on things have changed, because I'm thinking, man, I'm about halfway through my potential time period where I can probably make good muscle gain, growth progress. And I'm thinking, like, what, that's
without it being, is the juice worth the squeeze type of thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Without like, seriously, like, well, of course I could, if I'm 50 years old, I could exchange 10 years of life expectancy for 1 pound of muscle.
Absolutely.
It's a good exchange, right? But anyhow, um, but yeah, I'm thinking, okay, well, so now what's my outlook on the next like 10 years? Just
Hmm.
some
Yep.
thinking kind of long term and maybe some little short term goals and what I want to do with it. And also thinking, in my case, my business and
Yep. Oh yeah,
different
for
things
sure.
like, different things like that. So
You,
yeah, just
you,
think,
no, go ahead.
yeah, I was just saying, just think about, try not to be short sighted. Try to think,
Yeah.
try to always think big picture. And I sit and I repeat this like a broken record all the time. And I say this to clients, like, you cannot be short sighted. You cannot be short sighted if you want to reach big goals. You can't be short sighted if you want to maintain your health. Um, you can't, you really are never going to get to your maximum potential or preserve your health if you look at everything in such a small like sample size.
Yep. Yep, no,
So
that's right. Well, that was the only thing I was going to interject there with, is that you said that your body's not going to respond at 30 is the same way it is at 40. And I said, no, of course not. However, that's great that this podcast is about the shelf life, because you can definitely respond better at 40 if you do quite a bit of the stuff we're saying through your 30s than you would if you didn't. Right. So that's just it. Like if your health isn't in trash by the time you're 40, well, there you go. And you haven't been taking you've been doing 2-3 shows a year, whatever, you might not even being able to make progress, let alone be in the gym, because your psyche's so destroyed. So definitely. Yeah.
yeah, it's, I've seen that too. So I've been doing this long enough now where I've seen people that used to compete and now they don't even lift weights at
Yeah. They
all.
don't go to the gym. Yep.
None.
I've had people that Austin after their first show. I've had people either have that poor of an experience, that bad of a coaching experience, or they don't have the plan coming off, or they don't have a game plan at all. And then they go back into the gym and they either did how they didn't expect or whatever, and they can't do it anymore. So
You know,
that's how easy it can happen. This is a husband and wife team that I tried to coach them after their first show, and they said, Marty, I just can't do this. I have no interest in this anymore. I was like, wow, that sucks.
what's interesting to me about that? We can maybe close it off with this, I guess. But I used to go to the gym and I would
Did
see.
you really?
Well, I used to go. Well, I don't. Yeah, I go to my own gym now. I don't even ever see it
Yeah, I
public.
know, right? There you go.
Yeah, I don't even know what people do in the gym. But anywho, um, I hear they don't lift weights. I did hear that, but well, that's a different story. But anyhow, I used to go to this local gym, and there would be people in there that were, I considered them fit. You know what I mean? They were maybe in their, at the time, I don't know how old. Everyone seems older when you're younger, but they might have been, I don't know, in their 40s or 50s, and they look pretty fit, but they did similar stuff, but they never really. I'm like, why the heck are they in here doing all this stuff? Like they don't compete or anything else. And then I've slowly over the years seen the destructive nature of competing and how a
Yep.
lot of these people literally have, and this goes back to what I said earlier about going through cycles of leaning and bulking and all this stuff first, is that these people have no foundation going into it. So if competing isn't there, they don't have any lifestyle foundation.
No.
And they can't, like, they don't even go to the gym. Like, they don't even know how to just go to the gym and eat a balanced diet. Like, they don't know what that is because they aren't, they aren't like doing any type of extreme goal. And it's sad because they literally, they have there's no health component there whatsoever. And then that gave me such a respect for those people that they just exercise and eat a balanced diet because they want to look and feel good. And that's it.
Yep.
You know, I'm thinking, man, that's not all that bad. And why are they successful at doing that? Well, they're successful at doing that because they have no emotional attachment to this. Like, they probably have some emotional attachment to the way they look, obviously, but they have no like extreme emotional attachment to some competition, right?
On the judgment part, on being
Right.
judged at a show.
Right. They don't have it. It's not there. So they just do it for themselves, and they're able to maintain it, do it long term, enjoy it, and they're happy with it. That's it. They don't need a show. They don't have to do any of that stuff. probably never even thought about it.
Yeah, one of the things that I've said for quite some, because I heard this is not my own quote. I forget who said it to me years ago, and I really like it. Is said, "You should compete because you've been working out, not the other way around. You should work out because you compete." Like, because I've had many people sadly come in and say, "I want to do a bikini show," especially and it's been bodybuilding too. I want to do a bodybuilding show. I'm like, okay, how long have you been lifting? Like, oh, I haven't done anything yet. And they want to do a contest prep, not an off-season stuff.
Oh yeah,
They want to do a prep. So like, as in, so yes, yes, compete because you've been training and you enjoy it. Don't work out because you just want to compete, because that's a disaster setting up, because you have that foundation. You will go into that show and you'll get smoked, and then you want to talk about shelf life. You probably might not even set the foot in the gym again. Yeah.
Yep. And well, it's not funny, but the ones, especially the enhanced competitors that literally do it, then they do all these, PEDs and all this shit, and they never even lift weights ever again. It's like,
oh man,
what the hell?
Yeah, I've had one guy famously at the gym I used to train at years ago said he wouldn't even compete unless he was on the gas, or wouldn't work out unless he was on the gas. And I was like, man, do you even enjoy it? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, sounds good.
I'll tell you what, full disclosure, I'll definitely lift differently when I'm not competing.
Of course.
Because I only halfway enjoy what I do now.
Oh yeah, it takes time when you're
PTSD.
Oh man, you got it. You got it. I fully get that. Like that's why I haven't gone back to doing any kind of dog crap style training in a long time, because I have some severe PTSD of getting underneath the hammer strength incline machines and being like, can I even get this up, let alone do any reps, and be like, this is gonna crush me.
Yeah. I'm supposed to do let's see, what's today? Thursday. I'm supposed to do legs on Saturday, and it's literally 4 sets. It's 4 exercises, 1 set each. And I just am like, oh God, it's going to be, it's a life altering experience every time.
Yeah. Oh, geez. I think that's a great way to finish off shelf life, is, know that you're going to have some PTSD. That's all.
Yeah. That's what you have to look forward to, but there is life, but there will be life after bodybuilding. There should be.
Yes. Yeah. And there can be, especially if you do what we were talking about here for shelf life. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Okay. So that's it for this time.
Cool. That's good. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that one. And from Austin and Marty here at the Mind Body Broadcast, we'll catch you next time.